Grand Rising. Arc. Why something needed to be done wrong and stupid. True Brit News. Arc of the Moors, I'm changing it. Arc to Arc of the Moors. Right. Say more about that later. In some other post probably. Okay, so just had some musings. Again, some bit of news. It's quite frightening really. Which shows the determination of the powers that were to continue doing willful acts of harm, injury and loss upon the population. There's a something, I think it's for hepatitis B, I think it is, or something like that, for students 18 to 25 year olds. They're rolling out some new vaccine, some new something or the other, right? So that's the news. What I find astonishing, a couple of things really. The blowback, none. And that's in the face of, I don't know if people are aware, but the information is definitely out there and it's been admitted, and it's that people are going to court for creating essentially a bioweapon in the form of a COVID vaccine, which actually means certificate of actually voter or vaccination. It's voter or vaccination identification. Okay, this whole idea about digital IDs and blah blah blah, there was more than one way that they were doing it. COVID was another. So now they're talking about transhumanism coming about as a consequence of those that have taken the vaccine, because of the things that are in it that are highly toxic, unverified, untested, and here they are doing something again which is untested. And more recently they've miraculously come up with a cure for this Ebola thing that they didn't have a vaccination from, so they've got a vaccine for that. So they seem to be coming up with all these cures for things that are recently and historically have been established as illnesses or ailments or predicaments, medical conditions that they've got no cure for. It's also become quite apparent there's a connection between COVID, Ebola, and what else is there? Hepatitis A, B, C, D, and all through to Z, or whatever it is that they've made them. They meaning the state, they meaning corporations, they being the ruling elites, whoever they are. And the ruling elites are the ones that own all your conglomerates, corporations, that influence what universities put out there, what it is that they talk about, and what it is they encourage the states that they're in and the people that are in them, what it is that they need to learn, what it is that they need to know about how the world is, how it's made up, and how to stay fit and healthy in it. They make the rules. So one of the things that they've said, very subtly, is that to be a homosexual paedophile, it's alright. So much so, as I say, all the institutions that I've mentioned all end up in the Epstein files. Now, I'm not saying the Epstein files is the pinnacle or the ultimate or even the penultimate source of a rationale or an insight into how the white Caucasian, white European mind thinks and operates, and what its purpose is about. That should be very, very apparent to everyone now. And I think this is a post which is talking about the consequences of that in some ways, or consequence of that reality, that there is no doubt that we are a nation of homosexuals, or a grooming enterprise to make acceptable the notion of homosexuality and paedophilia is normalized. And anybody that resists that, I mean, there are some other things that could go alongside that, but that's a fundamental, obvious one that should be clear to people. Alongside things like the genocide in Palestine, people don't seem to consider the rights and wrongs of this, and I think that's one of the characteristics then of this mindset. It doesn't give a fuck about anything apart from itself, and only starts to squeal when its position it becomes under threat. So what do I mean by position being under threat? Well, the hegemony that we've been living under and the paradigm is false, and the premise under which it's set up is also false. Also, the falseness of the premises and the position and even the philosophy is wrong, false, and distorted. And how do I know this? Because of the world that we're living in at the moment, full of homosexuals, paedophiles, and people that are warmongers, essentially. This is right before this cyclist runs me over and before any traffic comes up. So that's what it is, and I don't need to put any evidence up for that. It should be quite apparent. And if you don't see it, I'm saying, as a qualified, experienced, well thought of, actually, I'd like to believe, in terms of my practice at anyway, highly skilled and proficient clinician that is concerned with mental health. So not just my comprehension of that topic and its varying forms and dimensions and aspects, but also in the treatment of psychological distress, emotional, relational, psychological, and increasingly spiritual, because there are two elements which I've talked about in my soon-to-be released psychotherapy unhinged psychotherapy series. When I put that out, I talk about that. I can't remember what that was, and my mind just drifted into the unhinged psychotherapy. I need to get that out. So I forgot what I was saying now. Well, I can't remember what it is that I was saying, but just to say then, probably the reason why I mentioned unhinged psychotherapy is some of the themes that I talk about in that are, because it's not just psychotherapy where we've become unhinged, or we've become unhinged from psychotherapy, and psychotherapy as a profession was designed, I suppose in many respects, to unhinge people from their sense of self, from their identity, from their their identity, and their interconnectedness with other human beings that sometimes are different and diverse from themselves. So I'm getting used to that now. I'm on these lights here. Right. So anyway, I'll come back to that. Maybe come back to that as I'm editing it. 10 minutes already. All right. 5 more minutes. So I've talked about what it is that they're planning to do in terms of an article that's come up this morning. Actually, it's Monday morning. And then there's going to be a geezer that's going to see the king to take up the position of Starmer. He's been kicked out, and then there's the geezers coming in. Unelected, I might add. You know, they've got their own little process that they've done to make the people feel as though they are justified to do what it is, but it's not democratic. It's not, in no way is it democratic process. But it's the geezers going in, going to change the agenda on which the previous Prime Minister was elected, the manifesto, if you like, that they put together to say they're going to do this, that and the other, which they didn't do. So, you know, they're just making it up as they go along. But the subtlety of it is that I don't think there's going to be much change. And what change that comes is going to support, in my view, the idea of digital ID, but not in such a direct way. I think the backlash that there has been towards digital ID has made them realise that they need to come at it from a different angle. And that's the reason why Starmer's gone. And they brought this geezer in because he is considered king of the north. And I've got to be honest, he just looks like another clone of Starmer, to be quite honest. He looks the same. I think he's slightly taller. He's got the same shaped face, same glasses, you know, more or less. It's just, and I suspect we're going to get more of the same. But in a different form, it's going to be more appealing to more people. You know, if you like, he seems to be more working class than Starmer was. Starmer's a lawyer. I don't know what this geezer's background is, but I suspect he's going to bring in all the people that neither Reform were able to bring in, and that's gone down the toilet as well. I mean, but remember this, they're Fabians, all of them in the Labour Party. They've all signed it, which means their motto is, or their emblem is a wolf in sheep's clothing. You don't have to believe me, go check it out yourself. And I think that's what people need to do more of. Check some shit out for themselves, because I fear that as people don't embrace the truth, the apparent reality, clear in your face, unmistakably in your face, that what happens when people's cognitive dissonance is not working for them is that start to lash out through blaming, shaming, and actually will resort to violence too. And I fear that unless we tribe up, plan up, and I'm talking specifically here about Britons with an O, not Britains, Britons. Tribe up, plan up. If you know the history of the country, tribe up and plan up. The true history, not this fucking fake shit that you've been dealing with for the last maybe 1,000 years, or what you've been told is 1,000 years. Not that one. England was created in 927. So what was going on before that? And where were you during 927? If it is scientifically proven, you know, that white people didn't exist before the 1600s. So where are you going with that? So who was there? Who were these people that we're talking about? Yes, and we all know about the whitewash. And I think these are the things that people have been trying to avoid for a very, very, very long time. You've always known the truth. And I'm not, this is not a colour thing. When I talk about white, if you look at the true etymology of black and white, you find that it's in reverse. So people have known about this shit all along, but they didn't think they were going to get found out. Now they've been found out. Now it's getting interesting. So the next time, may your ERP and your spirituality remain strong. Gone.